Hey, for a really long time, I felt like I had something that I needed to share, something that's really helped me. And it's been bugging me for years because every night I go to bed and I'm like, oh, I should totally share this with other people. Type it out. Oh, that'll take too long. Oh, forget it. Day after day, year after year, and I'm still not doing it. So here I am right now trying to get this out. What I want to talk about is depression and what I refer to as default happy thoughts and how it has helped me. Come to find out, that's just my version of coping skills. Did not know that. I had a really rough upbringing, and for a lot of different reasons. A lot of abuse, physical, emotional, sexual, all gamuts. And somehow throughout that whole process, I managed to have a desire to be good, to do good. And, I had faith in God, even though I didn't really know a whole lot. I don't know, I feel like I was blessed with having that knowledge that I had a savior, even though I didn't fully understand what that meant. That helped me get through a lot. But growing up, I had a hard time. And in high school, well, before that, suicide was also a big part of my teenage years. And, the few times that I actually did that, thankfully I had friends who were observant. And when I came to school the next day afterwards, you could just tell something wasn't right. And so my BFF marched me over to the counseling office and just said, "Here, stay here, until you get the help you need." And I appreciated that. I really do. There's a lot of kids nowadays that want to help their friends, and rather than entrusting them to people that can help. And although I didn't really get the help I needed, I appreciated that she understood that it was beyond her ability. So, gold star for Amy. As I got older, I became an adult, I had things I wanted to do, goals that I had. I wanted to settle down and get married and have kids, but I was making choices in my life that were making that really hard. And so depression, that's the weird thing about depression. It certainly does not have to be a circumstance thing, a trauma. It just is. You can have traumatic things that can make you depressed, or you can just be depressed, and that's normal. Unfortunately, it's part of being human. How we deal with that, how we recover from that is how we grow and how we become stronger people. In my early 20s, I was really struggling, and again, suicidal thoughts, a lot going on. And I went to an activity with like a family gathering thing with somebody I was dating at the time, and since I was 21, they gave me alcohol, which was new to me. I had never had that before. Didn't have any idea what it would do to me, and got a pretty good buzz from that, and went to work that way, which probably was a good thing, honestly, because while I was at work, those depression thoughts started coming in there, and for the first time in a really long time, I started seriously making a plan for when I got home, like a serious plan. And when I, as the day went on, thankfully it was like an 8-hour shift, but as the day went on and I started to, get my head clear, I'm like, oh my goodness, what on earth am I doing? So needless to say, I haven't drinking anything since, and I have no desire to, because I have to be able to think clearly. Always. Even if my depression is under control, I have to be able to think clearly. So even after, Chip and I got married, and marriage is hard. I'm sorry, it is. If it were easy, everyone would do it. It's not easy. And depression and issues, and then things got a little better, counseling, and we got, we had the kids, and they're great, and I love my kids to pieces. They are my world. But depression was still a really big part of my life, especially since I weighed like 300 pounds and couldn't do much of anything. And I'm like, I have to be able to function. I can't let this spiral of thoughts, paralyze me for weeks, months on end. I can't function like that. And so I tried a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to dig myself out of that hole faster. And the only thing that really stuck was developing default happy thoughts. So that when I'm driving down the road, 'cause usually it's when you're alone that your thoughts, the intrusive comes in there, and I'm not a good enough mom, I don't spend enough time with my kids, I'm not paying off our debt fast enough, on and on and on. Over the years, I trained myself to just, okay, these thoughts are going on, cue default happy thought. And I'll explain how, what that is, but it took years to get to that point. And sometimes it's a struggle. Most of the time, it's like a button or a light switch, and the key is finding something that pulls you so far out of your swirling thoughts that you have to pay attention to it. It has to be significant. For instance, my first happy thought, the one that got me through many years, was something that happened to be my junior year of high school. And I imagine there's probably a few people that may be watching this going, oh, Jennifer, please let this not involve me. So I did mock trial my junior year of high school, and which in retrospect was a very bad idea for me, because I have like post-traumatic stress with courtrooms. So that in and of itself was a bad idea, never again. But I wanted to be involved, and I wanted to be with my friends, and it seemed like really cool, thing to do. And so, I was a witness. It was like a drunk driving case or something, and I was like in the car with said accused drunk driver, and all I had to do was explain why my fingerprints were on top of the steering wheel. All I had to do. All I had to do is say something to the effect of, I grabbed it for balance because the driver's side door wasn't closed all the way. That's it. That's all I had to do. Couldn't be any easier. And my time to shine came, and they asked me, Miss whatever it was, why are your fingerprints on top of the steering wheel? And I did the total deer in the headlights. I'm like, and I look over at Rob and Wendy, and they're like, come on, Jennifer, you have one job, do it. And I just can't. And I look over at them, I don't know. And of course, that's obviously not what I was supposed to say. And so they were like, well, then maybe you're guilty. And they go off on their thing. And so I look over at Rob and Wendy, and I see Rob bring the palm of his hand to the center of his forehead, probably hard enough to make a noise. And Wendy just folds her arm and puts her head down. And I don't know why, but their reaction to my epic fail always makes me giggle. I don't know. I guess the point there is you really never know how you're going to impact other people. You really don't. But every time I think about that and their reaction to that, I just, I don't know, it totally, I mean, yeah, I was upset that I blew it for the team, but I don't know. It was, looking back on it now, it makes me chuckle. And so that's one of the things that pops into my head when, when I start having those spiral of thoughts. The second one that I have is involving Chip and I seeing the end of Star Wars Episode 9. And irritated beyond all reason in the moment. It's so funny to think back on. So I was telling Chip about it yesterday because I was explaining to him my desire to want to share this concept. And so we're seeing the movie, right? It's the end of the movie, and the main characters are there, and they finally are just like, yeah, we're like totally great together, and they kiss, and I lean over to Chip, and I'm like, oh, their kids are going to be the most powerful, most diabolical children ever. And he waits about 2 seconds, and then he goes, yeah, they would be, but he's about to die. And I'm like, no, just Chip, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like 3, 2, 1. And then he died. Seriously. Again, it makes me chuckle afterwards. My point is that the default happy thought, it needs to be memorable enough to pull out of those bad times. I mean, now I guess we would call that coping skills. Having a healthy, productive coping skill. And that is one of many, because, now I have like grounding exercises and DBT. And I guess my point is, unfortunately, being depressed is part of being human. But we're not meant to go through this alone. We've all been there. Raise your hand if you've ever been depressed. We've all been there to one degree or another. But as people, as fathers, mothers, siblings, we still have to be able to function. And if whoever's watching this is really struggling with this, I hope you will try my default happy thoughts or some other thing to just keep trying. It pains me to know that someone out there could be depressed and suffering and feeling alone, like there isn't a way out. And I don't know, maybe there's not, but there definitely isn't, if you don't try. So, I really want to help people. I've been through a lot. And although I can probably admit I'm the shyest person on the planet, I really want to help. And I hope that just knowing that somebody else is going through stuff too helps, because sometimes just feeling like you're not alone can help. So, thanks for listening. And I'm here. I love you. You are a good person. And we can do this. We can.